here's Ed Bernstein.
Well, on today's show, we have something for everybody. Alan Snel is here. He's going to talk about his new book and talk about the Las Vegas sports biz, really for like a lot of the men, some of the women like some of that, right? And a little bit later in the show, Galit Ventura-Rozen is here to talk about successful woman's mind. So, I mean, somehow there's some synergy in today's show with, right, sports and how women think.
Well, there's quite a few women at the Golden Knights games. I mean, if you look at those Golden Knights games.
I want to ask you about that, okay? I mean, you bring up a good point. I've been to a lot of hockey games. You look at the crowd in Las Vegas, and they seem to be a little bit less typical than what you'd expect at a hockey game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Better dressed, prettier girls, right? I mean, let's be honest here, right? I mean, there's a whole different scene there.
Well, you know, the interesting thing about the Vegas Golden Knight demographic is that you do obviously have your hardcore fans, but to me, what's fascinating is that you have so many people here in Las Vegas who did not know hockey, who have been converted literally overnight, and for me as a business writer who have invested a lot of money in everything from tickets to merchandise to field trips to away games. And I think the games are that more beneficial for it. I mean, like you said, it's an interesting cross-section of fans of all kinds of backgrounds. And then this being Las Vegas, you have a lot of visitors. You have a lot of tourists. You have people who were at a convention during the week. They're going to come and check out a game. Or they're fans from Minnesota or Winnipeg, and they're coming and they want to see their team. So a Golden Knights game to me is very different, and they've broken the mold, I think, for the National Hockey League in terms of the game presentation and also the kind of, like you said, the crowd makeup.
So what's your opinion of the teams that come in to play us? And I'm talking about the fans, basically. Sometimes it could be, 25, 30% of the, filling the arena, right? I mean, you have sometimes 6,000 fans from another team. That's a good thing, I guess, right? Or no?
Well, so I talked about this very topic with Bill Foley, the owner, and I've also chatted several times with Kerry Bubolz, the team president, about this. And I think Bill Foley was a little concerned about about in season one, about having too many out-of-town fans coming in. So in season two, I think Kerry Bubolz's charge was to create a better balance, because it is kind of cool to have some fans from out of town to kind of create this little synergy and kind of this fun little creative chaos during the game. And for the most part, the sportsmanship is fine. I mean, there have been some isolated fights.
There was some fans removed a week or so ago. I saw there was a fight in the stands.
Yes, there was, but I think those are more exceptional than really the case in a usual way. And I think Kerry Bubolz's charge this year was to create a better balance between the hometown fans and the fans coming in to watch the opposition team.
Right. I mean, look, I had a personal experience, and I'm practically at every game, and there's always fans from another team somewhere around, and each individual fan, the comments I get are always really positive about the experience in Las Vegas and the home fans that are there. I mean,
I think there's fun back and forth going on.
Right, but when I went to Washington for the Stanley Cup Finals, and I took one of my daughters with me, it was frightening. I mean, the Washington fans were throwing things at the Las Vegas fans. They were yelling obscenities at children. I mean, it was a whole different experience. I was not happy there.
No, that's not cool.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about your book, Long Road Back to Las Vegas. You were in a pretty serious accident.
Yeah, the book really is, it documents my comeback to Las Vegas after a distracted motorist in Florida smashed into me while I was bicycling. It was on the east coast of Florida, about 2 hours north of Miami, just south of Vero Beach, which is where, at the time, I was actually living not too far from Dodgertown in Vero Beach. And I go for a morning bike ride and basically got run over by a distracted motorist who was reaching for his breathing inhaler. And I'm here really by the grace of God. I mean, it was a pretty violent collision. You know, he's going in an area where the speed limit is 40 to 45 to 50 miles per hour. And he claimed he never saw me, slammed into me, 2 broken vertebrae, bad concussion. To this day, there's still fluid on my knee from the injury to my right leg. So when I got my marbles back together and the symptoms from the concussion subsided, I decided to return to Las Vegas. I had worked for the Review-Journal as a business reporter covering this business of sports category. Mm-hmm. So I decided, you know, like you mentioned, things are hopping here in Las Vegas. The sports industry is expanding. I wanted to write a news site that would cover this mashup of sports and business and economic development and stadium building and consumer fan issues. And I decided to also not so much be a kind of a reservoir for just news releases. I wanted to add some of my news analysis and enterprise kind of stories. And because I do have an institutional background in the reporting in this, I've covered the business of sports in Tampa Bay, South Florida, Denver, Seattle, Metro New York. So I also have kind of a national scope on this too. And you know, for me, the timing couldn't have been better. But the point of the book really is about how this whole process of coming back to Las Vegas, starting the news site, was really a vehicle for me to recover and get better.
And great timing for what you wanted to accomplish here in Vegas. When they initially were going through the process of naming the Las Vegas Golden Knights, what did you think of the name at that time? Because I was a little skeptical, quite honestly, but it's turned out to be such a huge success with licensing and business deals.
Right, so this is kind of a two-part question, really. Yeah. Usually, the name has some kind of intrinsic connection to a geographic feature or historic feature of the local market. But in this case, the owner, Bill Foley, really wanted to get back to his military roots. I actually covered the U.S. Military Academy at West Point as a young reporter, so I'm very familiar with the whole West Point culture and location there. And he wanted, if you remember, Black Knights, but obviously that was a nickname for the Army sports teams. And then he went, you know, in paying tribute to the military West Point roots, he went with the Golden Knights. And then that obviously, you would appreciate at this, you know, there was obviously an infringement on the Golden Knights.
Which I've seen the real Golden Knights.
Right, that's actually been settled.
Yeah,
but I probably, like you, was wondering, like, what is the connection between the hockey team? This is the magic of sports. Post October 1st, they do an incredible job bonding this community, helping Las Vegas heal. Plus, the team goes on to have this miracle season. Who really cares what they're called? I mean, people went for the ride. It was this unbelievable, unicorn, magical, once-a-lifetime season. And the merchandise sales have been excellent. Top 5 the last time I looked. The jersey is doing excellent. Last time it was like the most popular jersey. And Bill Foley actually had a great business in getting to really the second part of your question, and that is the night itself is a universal mark. If you named it the Scorpions or something about the Gamblers, you're limiting your demographic pool. So in this case, having a night, in his mind, he wanted to make this a worldwide mark. He wanted him to have this logo have worldwide global appeal, and it turned out to be a great idea. He was selling the jersey in Europe. There are nights in Europe, and also, believe it or not, even in Asia and China. So having a Golden Knight as the logo,
it's like a superhero.
Yeah.
It's like a new superhero.
And it has universal global appeal. That's the thing.
Right. And then you can use, what is the term when you can spell it K-N-I-G-H-T or N-I-G-H-T, right? So you get both uses of the word.
Right. Obviously, it's the nighttime. You have everyone from Mark Chinook, the arena announcer, yelling it, to even Nate Schmidt on the Jumbotron nighttime. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of play on words it could be used for.
Right. Now, you hang around the practice arena there, you hang around the locker room, you talk to the guys, right? I mean, do we really have this unusual, friendly bunch of hockey players. I mean, they all that nice guy.
They are the real
Yeah,
deal.
yeah.
I mean, I think it was cool for Las Vegas for its first major league team to have the National Hockey League be the league, because the players, as reputation, do have a little more kind of down-to-earth kind of feel to them.
Yeah.
And they're kind of an international bunch. Actually, the NBA is growing more international as well, but you have people who are Americans on the team, Canadians, French Canadians, and also Europeans and global. So it's the real deal. The Golden Knights traded probably the friendliest of all the.
Brad Hunt. Yeah.
Yes. Brad was a friend to everyone, and everyone was, sad to see him go. But
How does that affect the team when they trade a
popular
player?
I think it's business. I mean, you deal with a lot of personal tough issues, like in your line of work, and you know what? I think they're able to compartmentalize business from the emotional connections of friendships and relationships, and that's the nature of the business of Major League Sports. People get traded. I kind of think about it because I've worked at newspapers around the country, and I always wonder, it's not like newspapers are trading reporters, and I wonder, what if like other jobs could actually trade people, the way they do in sports. But Brad Hunt was, really popular, very super, just sincere, nice guy. And to your point about the team, all these guys are very approachable, and they're the real deal. Everyone from Reeves to Carlson to Marchie, and obviously Nate Schmidt is just like a big kid. When you see him, and also Alex Stuck, when you see these guys playing the esports, they actually had an esports event just a week or two ago. They're in their element. I mean, these are millennials just having a good old time, and what you see pretty much in the locker room in terms of the relationships and friendships is what you see out there in the real world too with fans.
So do you correlate your own recovery and your own life experiences with the birth and development of sports in Las Vegas, kind of running parallel?
Well, what's interesting, I showed up in early June of 2017, only a week or two before the Golden Knights picked their roster of players. And the cool thing for me was that when I was at the Review-Journal, I actually covered the ticket deposit campaign by Bill Foley and also the Maloofs. People have to forget the Maloofs actually worked quite a few years behind the scenes, going to Gary Bettman's office to kind of grease the wheels for a National Hockey League franchise in Las Vegas. And when the new arena was built, that was the clincher. That put us over that put the Las Vegas market across the finish line for that. So the Golden Knights season and my return to Las Vegas are definitely intertwined.
Links, yeah.
And it gave me a structured anchor to my life, because it required, I mean, to everyone else, it's a sports story. To me, it's the most fascinating sports startup franchise in the last decade or two. And to me, from a business writing standpoint, it was fascinating to cover the first season.
Yeah. And of course, you mentioned Reeves. Almost the opposite. I mean, you lose a player like Brad Hunt, but then Reeves came to the team late last year, right? In the last quarter, I think, of the season last year, and immediately became, well accepted by the fans, became a fan favorite.
Yeah, he's a really interesting guy. He's also a super friendly guy, and I love to talk to him about cars. I think he's an Audi guy. And I was just joking with him that maybe he should be a spokesman for Lambo, because he's just.
I think he's in the beer business now, right?
That's
spokesman for the beer.
That's
now.
right. Now he has his own beer as well. Yeah. So he's made an immediate connection with the fans.
Give me a prediction. What's going to happen to the Knights this year?
Well, I'm not really too good of a sports writer, but I would say that they're going to make the playoffs. I think the Western Conference has they have a bunch of really good teams.
Tough.
You got Calgary, San Jose, Winnipeg, Nashville. Right. And I think the Golden Knights will get through the first round, and just being a pragmatist, I think the bubble bursts in round two. But
I don't know. See, my prediction is they go further. My prediction is that the team gels, get healthy at the same time, that Carlson finds his groove, Smith is back, and watch out.
That's a viable scenario as well. I mean, they haven't had the full complement of players, for the entire season, so they could catch fire in the last few weeks if all the players come together.
But as you know, everything is timing.
Yeah,
right? You coming back to
absolutely.
Vegas, long road back to Las Vegas, and you came back 2017. It was timing, right? And we're glad you're okay, Alan. The book is it's a saga, a personal saga, but also kind of the beginning of sports relevance in Las Vegas.
Right. I mean, we talk about the Raiders Stadium, the new teams, the WNBA team and soccer team, and obviously all the old sports like the NASCAR and NFR. So this is a really dynamic, vibrant sports market.
Right. So now, if you want to hang around, we're going to learn, what successful women are really thinking about. Okay?
That's good to hear.
We're right back with Galit Ventura-Rozen. Galit. I see.
When sorry is not enough. Enough said. Call Ed. EdBernstein.com.
Galit Ventura-Rozen wrote a book called Successful Women's Mindset. Now, is there a difference, Galit, between the way men think and the way women think?
Oh, absolutely.
And if you had to really generalize on what those differences are, what are they?
I think that women are very heart-centered. It's in our nature to think with our heart a lot of times before we think with our mind. And so we're very emotionally centered. We're also natural caretakers and caregivers, so we always give. So I think a lot of the differences are not that we're not capable of doing and being what a man does in business. I think it's more about we think differently. So just a quick example, women are very natural multitaskers. There you go. So that would make a woman think differently in business than a man as well. A man a lot of times likes to do one thing at a time, focus, which is wonderful. It works. I think it's great. There's no right or wrong. But with women, we're just naturally doing 10 or 20 things at once and capable of being successful at all of them.
So taking that premise and applying it to what happened in the last election, and with all these women getting into Congress and trying to change, they are changing the face of Congress, and then we have several women that are considering presidential bids. So do you think that is going to change the culture, the ethos of the country?
First of all, yay. It's about time. I just have to put
Since
that out there.
Since you're more than 50% of the population.
Right, it's about time. I love seeing a woman stand up. I think that sometimes as women, we want to have all of our ducks in a row before we step up, when sometimes I think that's a mistake. And I love that all of these women that have now been elected are powering together and recognizing that there's a place where a woman's voice could be heard. And if you really think about it, what has it been, maybe 50 years since women have been able to vote? It's not that long. 100, thank you, Ed. Not that long.
But when you say women need to get all their ducks, don't have to get all their ducks in a row, is that what as a generalization, women wait until they get all their ducks in a row?
Yes.
And you're suggesting, hey, there is no perfection.
No.
Go take a risk first.
Yes, and I love that they're coming out and they're doing this. That they're really experimenting, of course, before they run for the presidency. They put together their committee and all of that. I love that they're doing that because I think that there's a need for that. And of course, as a woman, I think a woman would be a wonderful president.
Well, yeah, before the show, we're chatting in the studio here about Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes.
She'd be an example of somebody who just goes for it.
Very powerful. Coming out when everybody was not expecting it, when they weren't ready for that voice, when they weren't ready for those opinions. That's really something special, especially when a woman does it, because we're still in that stage where we're learning to embrace ourselves, to embrace our value, which I talk about in the book. One of my chapters is she embraces her value. And as women, we don't always recognize the value that we have. So watching all these women that were elected, as well as that are stepping up and want to run for the presidency, is showing that we're finally recognizing our value here. And it's time to speak up.
For a lot of women, it's an issue of timing, however.
Yes.
Now, you had your personal experience is that you were a young lady, 21, you got involved in real estate business.
Real estate,
and this
yes.
was before you had children.
Yes,
right?
it was.
Other women say, well, I want to have a family, children, and then I'll look at the career. What is your suggestion? How does a woman balance those two things?
I think that today that has changed a lot. I think today women have recognized that they can have it all, and you're capable of it. So when I started in the business, I got married at a young age. I wasn't even 23. So it wasn't even that I said, oh, I got to be successful and then get married and have children. I just decided I'm going to do it all. And as a woman, again, being a natural multitasker, we're very capable of it. We just have to believe in ourselves and recognize that we can. One of the number one things that stops women from taking that step and saying, oh, well, I have to choose this or this instead of saying I want to do it all is not believing in yourself. And you must believe in yourself. We're fast to believe in everybody we love, our significant others, our children, our parents, our siblings, but we don't step out just for a second and think about what we're capable of doing. So for me, I recognized from a very young age, probably having a father that immigrated to the States, became an entrepreneur on his own and very successful, and watched him. I thought, why can't I do that? Because I'm a woman? Of course I can do that. And so I had children young, my first at 24. And I just built a business while I had kids. I have 3. So I built them. They're only 7 years apart, the youngest to the oldest. And I was capable of having some of my most successful years in business and having success with a family.
Right, and that's, there's not a lot of people who can do that. You need support in your life in order to do that, right? I mean, it's
you must.
It's very difficult, particularly for single moms, to do this and really focus on bringing up your children at the same time you've got to support them and work. So there's a lot of complications.
It's not easy, but it's doable.
What are the characteristics you talk about for the women's mindset? You talked about one, believing in yourself.
Believing in yourself, embracing your value.
And by the way, how do you do that?
How do you believe in yourself?
It's easy to say it.
It really is.
But how do you really practice that?
What I actually give techniques in the book and I call them activities. So you dig a little deeper. As women, we're always needing to figure out why we don't believe in ourselves first. And a lot of times that comes from childhood, peers, family members, it doesn't matter what. We're really quick to listen to what others think of us instead of what we think of ourselves. But the way that you could do that is you're surrounded for sure by some people that believe in you and love you. You want to listen to what they say about you. If they're saying you're amazing and you're wonderful and you're capable of so much. So first you want to stop and allow yourself to really understand and listen to what they're saying to you.
But you need people around you that are supportive in that regard, right?
Yes.
Not everybody
has
that.
So the successful woman finds it because it exists. So if it's not in your immediate circle, if it's not your family, not everybody has that. Right. I'm very blessed to have that. 3 younger brothers, amazing parents, amazing kids. But not everyone has that. But there's women out there that want to see you succeed. One of my biggest things is I'm involved in so many women's organizations in Las Vegas, business organizations that support you and want to watch you succeed. So surround yourself with like-minded women that want to see you succeed.
Right.
Very important.
Okay, so other characteristics that
we don't take enough chances.
Right.
As
Taking
women,
risk.
We don't take enough chances. We are very, at times, comfortable, and comfortable is safe. But nothing happens in the comfortable. You must step out of your comfortable. You must get comfortable with the unknown. So one of the things I talk about is you have to try new things. When I was on my way here today, my heart's racing. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm getting on TV with that Bernstein, right? I grew up here. I've known you since I was a little girl. But I knew I needed to get on this show, and I knew it was important to do this. So I worked my way through it. Don't allow that heart pumping, that anxiety, that anxiousness to stop you.
You can channel it, right?
Yes.
I mean, you give a lot of speeches.
I do.
A lot of talks. When you ask people, what is your greatest fear? It's oftentimes public speaking, right? But it doesn't mean that you're not nervous. You always get nervous, right?
Always. I know you've interviewed a lot of famous actors and musicians.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've shared with you that they still get butterflies before they go on stage.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away, you just learn how to maintain it. And one of the things I talk about is fear is a big one. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of just messing up. So you just learn how to turn that fear into determination. And it's so possible because if you think about it, fear pushes you to not do it, determination pushes you to. You just got to find that fine line and work your way through it, because on the other side is something beautiful, which is success.
Right. I mean, I always learned that when you're afraid of something, embrace it, because it gives you the opportunity to be courageous.
Yes.
Because you can't have courage unless you're overcoming a fear. In other words, I'm not good with heights. So for me, jumping out of an airplane would be, you know, a big fear and a lot of courage on my part to do it.
Yeah.
Which I'm not. But,
which is okay.
But some people have no fear of that. That doesn't make them courageous, because for them, they're not overcoming a fear.
It's easy for
So
them.
it creates opportunities for you.
Yes. When you acknowledge what you are fearful of and you recognize that it has the possibility of pushing you to your success, you're unstoppable. You're limitless. And that's one of my favorite things about the book.
Right. So and you're available. You speak about this to
I do.
men and women, right?
Men and women, absolutely. A lot of men have purchased my book because a lot of these characteristics, there's 21 in there. One of them is Oprah status is achievable. Well, that can be for a man or a woman.
Right.
I just happen to be talking to the women in this book.
Right. Well, I'm going to buy it just so I know how a woman thinks.
Good luck.
I'm surrounded by a bunch of daughters and a wife, so for me it's important.
I'm
trying to figure that out. Thank you very much, Galit Ventura-Rozen. Name of the book, Successful Women's Mindset. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to drink some of my water.
Good thing you have insurance. The lady in front of you just called that Bernstein.
Enough said. Call Ed at Bernstein.com. When sorry is not enough. Enough said. Call Ed at Bernstein.com.